Well, good evening everyone, welcome to Carrow Road. I don't think this is going to be the longest video verdict because I'm a bit caught. Norwich have lost here 1-0 to Watford, a Watford side who played really well for long spells, supreme intensity in what they were doing early in the game. I thought they really just suffocated Norwich actually. I thought they pressed them incredibly high and incredibly well. They were then patient at the back and took control of the game. Ran out of steam then I thought after about 20 minutes, and Norwich came back into it and had a couple of really good opportunities. But then sort of lost their way towards the end of the half, and to be honest never really regained it. I thought they were second best for most of the second half. The goal came in a spell where they kind of lost their way. Although Norwich may have had a slightly better spell. No, that was in the first half. The goal, Dan Gosling scored the goal, which was a lovely assist from João Pedro. Possibly a little bit of inexperience at the back for Andrew Bamidele not cutting out the cross, but it was a wonderful ball and good movement from Gosling, who, to be fair, probably should have had 4 goals today. He had the chances for it, especially. I mean, Norwich could have lost this 3 or 4 ultimately on chances. And Norwich were disjointed, never really had the control of the game. They looked a bit heavy-legged. That could come from the slightly shorter recovery time they had. Quite clearly they had a party on Saturday night and Sunday off because that was going to be a recovery session. So, and it showed. I don't really know what else to say. It looked like they were, their preparations were different, and I don't know, is that a criticism? Should Norwich celebrate their promotion if they get it? Well, probably. I mean, Daniel Farke kind of answered the question. There's like, well, we want to win the title, but promotion was the most important thing, which it was. It's a very pragmatic view, and you can understand it, really. I guess the issue is I've spent all season, probably a year in fact, kind of wanting to see Norwich having the test of them playing the best teams at Championship level as a way of judging where they might be going forwards and where they've improved. And especially given I've looked at this Championship season, and for me, the 3 teams are now quite clearly the 3 teams that came down the best in the Championship, and I think they'll be the 3 that go up. You know, all it does is it sort of sows a seed, I suppose, and only hindsight and time and where we are in a few months will really give us a view of what's happened to that seed, whether it's just rotted and dead and we're all fine, or whether it's sprouting and we've got some trimming to do. So that's a really bad analogy, sorry, but so yeah, and it's difficult because ultimately Norwich they only got promoted like 3 days ago, and we're already like, ooh, next season, and they haven't even won the title yet. And for the record, I still think they will. I think ultimately, with the games coming up, they're tricky, but Norwich should be all right. Full week recoveries to get themselves sorted. They should be all right in the forthcoming 3 games. And Watford will probably run out of games to really cause them an issue for the title, short of something miraculously going wrong. So that's not so much of an issue. But I have felt it, and I would probably agree with it even in the Bournemouth game, because although you were talking about a man overload for 70 minutes, the way Bournemouth took advantage of that was very Premier League-esque. The way they moved the ball into the flanks and got around Norwich, and obviously were then clinical with their finishing, felt to me like watching Premier League opponents deal with opposition that were a man down. So I think there is a lingering amount of that. And Daniel Farke himself said, if it was an average performance, and if they'd played an average Championship team, Norwich would have won. It's like, well, that's good, but we've kind of been dealing with something else, haven't we? And that's there. But it's almost impossible to judge it fairly, maybe because of the circumstances, because Norwich have already been promoted. You can't will a sudden. It's very hard to compare Norwich's will to winning the title compared to Watford's will of coming back from the Luton defeat and feeling Brentford and Swansea down their necks, trying to finish second. That's a very different scenario. So there we go. That's not an answer. That's just me talking round in circles, obviously. In terms of performances on the pitch, yeah, I mean, I think Daniel Farke could have made changes earlier in the game. Poyeta and El Hernandez got the last 10 minutes. I think it could have been sooner. Jordan Hugill came on a lot earlier, but alongside Teemu Pukki. Daniel Farker made changes that I think effectively left them with a back three of Aarons, Hanley and Skip, and then everyone else was just up front. it was a little bit chaotic, and in fact Onel was probably the most likely to make anything happen. Mario had a good shot that was well blocked, which was a shame because that would have been a lovely narrative moment had he have managed to salvage a point from today. Xavi Cantilla had a difficult return at left back because of course Dimitris Giannoulis is suspended for the next 3 games. His appeal was a failure in terms of reducing the ban for that red card against Bournemouth. And I think a lot of people look at it and go, "Oh, that's terrible from Xavi." I think that's harsh personally. A, he hasn't played a lot. B, the season hasn't gone the way he would have wanted. C, he's up against one of the best wingers in the Championship in Ismail Assar. D, I thought some of the issues were the connection around him. So Todd Campbell's built up a really good connection with Dimi recently, but it was a bit awry, and I felt it was more of a connection and gelling issue almost with Xavi. So not really his fault, especially when you consider he's coming in. He didn't play against Bournemouth, and what have they done tactic work in terms of the last few days? Probably not a lot. So Watford were on it. So I would tend to really feel for him and go easy on him in that regard. But clearly he's also in a position where he's trying to impress to see if people do still want to take him on next year, unless conversations have already been had, but not as far as I know, and not that I would expect. So the obligation to buy him won't be triggered because he won't play enough games. So it's a kind of a secondary debate really anyway, and how that pans out, we'll have to see. Other than that, thought Kieran Dowell was one of those games that just passed him by completely. And then a few others who have been at superb levels this season weren't at superb levels today. You'd have all watched the games, you'd have all seen who they were, but I thought Teemu, Kenny, both kind of struggled. Grant Hanley was awesome though. He was like a rock, and the only thing he didn't get in the way of really was the goal, which is a bit of a shame. But there we go. Time and the future will determine whether we and how we probably reflect on these last 2 games. I don't think they'll impact on the title, but I won't be forgetting them. So we will see. But as has been proven over the course of this 90 minutes, a lot can happen in football over that time, given what's happened in the outside world. So who knows where we'll be come this time on Saturday. But I know I'll be at Loftus Road. I will see you there. Keep an eye out on The Athletic, of course, for the rest of the week. Have a listen to the On The Ball podcast. If you haven't, this week's is already live. I'm pretty sure my crystal ball moment failed miserably. Well, no, maybe not. We've got the weekend. And of course, the TNC Watch Along are doing a huge 24-hour charity marathon for the Big C. I will hopefully be taking part in it, and I will hopefully see you there with brilliant Jack and Chris who are doing it, and they're raising lots of money for Big C too. So help them out. Great cause, close to my heart. And I'll see you there and here and everywhere. In the meantime, thank you so much for your support. Get in touch, leave any comments and questions you wish. I will get this back to as many as possible, and I'll certainly read them. And maybe we should do a Q&A on Friday or Wednesday, because I did say I'd do one last week and didn't. So let's try and do that. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, look after each other. I'll see you very soon. All the best.